Yeah, there's definitely 8-bit goodness going on here. I'm still doing research on the cards and how they handled the MIDI information. I can hear a metal rendition of this. It has that kind of composition to it. Kind of really dark and heavy. Like it's a full-on chase or something heavy's going on here in the scene. The chug. That's what it is. It's an 8-bit chug. You know what's really super cool about this is that these sine waves and stuff, and I know they use triangle and other wave shapes as well to do this, but the percussiveness of the sounds that are being played are kind of making up for not having a drum kit. You know what I'm saying? Because the attacks are so bitey that when they're going, it makes up for actually not having a drum kit, you know? Okay. Okay, where are my people with the emojis, with the fingers and the heads going like this? Because this definitely sounds like... Can you imagine it, right? Like a kit back there. So this is where you're getting chased, it looks like. So this is what Dream Theater sounded like in like Greek times. That is so cool. You know what? I'm going to just let the rest of these play through because they're only like a minute and something left, and there's only like 4 of them left, and then we'll just leapfrog right into Metal Gear Rising, okay? So I've only got a few more of these to go, and they're all like a minute, so let's just continue on. Is that okay? No, I'm sure I'll drift into solid. Yeah, this is the first time. That little, it sounds like it would have been finger tapping back in the day. Listen to the tempo on that. That syncopated, there's a little syncopation going in there. Could you imagine Slipknot covering that? I think that would be crazy. Dark and heavy though, those sounds, you know, the 8-bit sounds in my mind, I'm translating them in a band as it, you know, Metal Gear, heavy metal band covering these stuff. Oh, we get drums. A little bit of an Avenged Sevenfold vibe. I'm kidding. That definitely had a fire on it, you know, like super like speed metal kind of vibe. I think that's what I'm probably going to encounter when I start listening to Metal Gear Rising. You know, is the fact that, you know, this transition, if this was what was this again, 1989? When did this one release? The very first one, you guys? 1987. That's a good idea, retro current gamer. You know, even though these are short pieces in the game and stuff, there's still movement in it. It's not like it's predictable repetitiveness. I mean, it might sound like it, but I'm hearing the fact that even though these are a minute and a half and however long they may loop in the game, you've got to stay there and play them. Okay. Please tell me you're getting chased or something like that's happening here. You know, thinking of Jordan Rudess and John Petrucci and Dream Theater doing this. Dragon Force, very Dragon Force, yes. This is an escape music, right? Like Run for Your Life, it sounds like. It fully gives you that anxiety without me even seeing the scene. Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, there are a lot of arpeggios. Well, I mean, I think 8-bit, I think you had to rely on arpeggiation for the percussive nature too, you know, to keep some kind of a rhythm and tempo in there. almost sounds like the end of the game, like you made it, or oh, that's a unique little turn in the melody right there. Hey Jay Keynes, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming. You have to be so clever in writing 8-bit because of the minimum space that you have. And these guys milk every square sonic moment. Oh, is that it? Is that the end of it? I guess it is, isn't it? Nope. What's this? Dead Soldier. Okay, this is the last one on this playlist, and then we move on. What? Oh, I guess that was it. You're a dead soldier. I guess that was it. You die. You maki die dead, as we say here in Hawaii. Maki die dead. You know, so before we move on, I just want to say what I love about this, and I've mentioned this before about 8-bit, 12-bit experience, is that because of the limitation of what they had on the cards, they had to really take advantage of every technical sonic square inch, if you would, of composition. So even though these are these little monophonic, you know, sine waves, some triangles, some square waves, you know, popping in and out and stuff, it has to be, I'm a little fumbling in the words because I'm trying to say there's a lot of these things have 2 to 3 to 4 layers of compositions and arrangements happening, but they're all one note stuff, you know? And if the 3, let's say there's, and then the bass line is going, doom, 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 doom. And then there's another line that's going, da, 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 da. So you got all this stuff going on in there, and they really embedded powerful hooks. Like usually in the music industry or in the world of songwriting and stuff like that, you really don't get gifted the hook until you get maybe a minute into it, minute and a half into it. The hook is the chorus, etc., etc. There's no time for that here. So with the kind of composing that goes on with 8 and 12-bit, the way I'm feeling is it's like you come in and sit on the hook and then milk the hook as many different ways as you can, you know, and try not to be monotonous, you know. And I think also in that time, in that era of video games, of which I didn't have any exposure to, I did play, I guess one of my cousins did have one of the little white Game Boy things I may have played a few times, but I never like dove into it. It was a growing experience for everybody, the developer, the composer, and the user. So I think that's why this 8-bit sound has got such a heavy nostalgic impact on a lot of, you know, lifelong video gamers. You know, it's part of their, you know, soundtrack of life. And it's extremely melodic, very, very melodic. You know, you can hear it coming a mile away, and automatically you're going to say, oh man, I remember this 1987. I was wearing high tops with jeans and holes and tank top cut when I had a frickin' mullet, and, you know, I looked like Joe Dirt or whatever. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying the nostalgia recall of 8-bit is kind of like that. Excuse me, sorry. Mr. Tickle Trunk to sit on the hook. It sounds painful. It does. To sit on the hook, it sounds painful. Okay, I'm going to take, I think his name is, sorry, I'm choking on my own spit. There's a game, what's the next iteration of Metal Gear? I just want to listen to the theme of the next one up. I think somebody was saying Solid. I just want to listen to the theme of it. I just want to, yes, thank you. I just want to listen to that, the theme of that as we build into this, because let me show you what it is what we're doing. Okay, class, stand by. Here's what I've been sent to check out. Is that apparently they're already in chapters and they come with lyrics, but apparently these are Metal Gear Rising songs that are in Metal Gear Rising, and that's what I want to work my way into. Okay, so what year was this released? Hey Sergic, welcome. 1990. So this must be the jump to 12-bit. Oh, there was no 12-bit? I thought there was. For some reason I thought in reading that there was a little bit of an iteration. Oh, 18 to 16. I'm sorry. I didn't do good in math. Same with English. I write good. Okay, I'm going to stop really quick since we still have halfway to go to listen to this. So let's talk about this really quick. So now, evidently, so obvious from the first one I heard that was true, full-on 8-bit. Whatever the production bit rate is here for this, if we notice, they've been able to expand their arrangements, and of course it sounds much better now. Drums are sounding a little more like drums. Pads are sounding a little more, but if you notice, it's still all mono. And the only thing that's giving it ambience is that somewhere during that process they decided to run it through a reverb. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't see I don't hear any definition and dynamics in the production, meaning, you know, the drums are here and a bass and maybe a little guitar here and a little something here, that they still have everything pretty much still in the pocket. And I also don't know if that has to do with the point of delivery to the game player. If in 1990, which I believe you guys said this is when this came out, where were gamers at that point with consoles? Were they using headsets already? So in 1990, once again, I don't know if I think already Nintendo, right? Because that's when Mario Brother already had their own console and stuff. So, but I don't know if music and sound effects quite had a forceful presence in the decision making in end result dynamics for the gamer. Did that make sense? I don't know. But as we continue to listen to this, listen to how everything is pocketed really mono. But if you are in your cans, if you're listening to this in your headsets, you will hear stereo ambience, and it just sounds like they just took that mix and ran it through a stereo, reverb, and then printed that out. So here we go. Game Boy was in stereo. I like how the sequence has a little delay on it. Oh, now it's getting heavy. Thank you, Umber March. That makes sense. Nice little tempo flip with us, right? Gives you a little bit of that stutter pop. I mean, it's not a tempo change. It's a play on me. It's a play on syncopation. Whoa. Was that like the end of, now please, yeah, somebody did say something. I'm sorry. I'm still new at this, and I'm still dealing with the live anxiety of doing what I'm doing, so I still have plenty of mistakes that I will make. One I just made was what was the name of the composer, the original composer of this, and did the composer stay along with the ride? Hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, I knew where the mute button was on my mic, so I hit it. So who was the composer, the original composer? It did say at the very beginning I played, but is it the same composer that stayed with the game series, or at least up to this point? Am I listening to the same composer? Thank you, everybody. You're so kind to me. Yeah, so while you guys, while I wait to see if it's the same game composer, I'm going to... This is Twitch live in terms of quality of your channel. It's top 10? Oh, thank you. I don't know. I'm just happy to have anybody watching this. Snake Eater. Okay, let's try Snake Eater, and then we'll move on to... Somebody had mentioned here that it was the Metal Gear after this one that went to console, and then therefore the everything went stereo and more banging in the sound. So let me do one more from this game, and then we'll jump up to that next one. So which is the other one you wanted me to do? Snake Eater. Stand by. Snake Eater. OST. Well, I don't want full OST. I'm sorry. Is Snake Eater? I'm a little confused here. I'm reading here. The next game is... So what is Snake Eater? Just somebody help me with that. Oh, so I jumped a little ahead. So where should I go to now, guys? So just tell me what you guys want me to... Metal Gear Solid, okay? Stand by. Okay, Metal Gear Solid. Theme, okay, I see it. Okay. This looks to be very simple. So now, Snake Gear Solid, is this when the game was produced onto the console and kind of went... OPS1. That's okay. So that's when everything in quality jumped up: visuals, gameplay, and sound. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do this. So now the next one here is Metal Gear Solid main theme. So let's check this out. Oh, yeah, totally different. Wow. Is this the same composer? Harry Gregson Williams. Okay. Okay, without a doubt, the composition leveled up, tenfold, and it's not to take away anything from the 8-bit. Everybody had their limitations to work with, but now it sounds like this composer Harry Gregson Williams, who apparently, from what was said here, did this one. Is now giving it a much more bombastic kind of, somebody had mentioned kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger-y kind of orchestral composition. Obviously, the compositions are getting bolder. And so is actually, if you listen to the sounds, this is all synth, or it's all MIDI'd, if you would. triggering samples to the best of the ability. What year did this come out, guys? Can you let me know? But now we're getting into the place where, at the very beginning with 8-bit, I was glowing about the power of minimalism because of what little space, the composer had to use to write the piece of music. So they really had to zero in on these melodies, in 8-bit, 1998. Okay, so 1998. Oh, there were good samples by that time, but maybe it was the capacity of the game. That with 8-bit you had to zero in on these melodies because you only had these little sine waves, these, to use. And then the next one got a little bolder with, the arrangement because of technology, but they still didn't have the capacity to really give you a real super stereo mix. So that limits the composer. This one now is the composer is being more of a movie composer application to a big piece of work here. So now you have a much bigger section to work with, and now we're hearing deeper, richer sounds because of the division of, the orchestra sounds. Now you have warmer, horn sounds that can glide you, kind of keep you down, in the banging part of the bottom end, where there's action and stuff. So that's what's going on here. Still a heavy emphasis on synth. It's got like a prog fusion heaviness. Here comes all the vocals and the choruses. This must be the year it started. I really like that hybrid crossover of all the synths into this more bigger banging orchestral. That was great. You know what what my real big takeaway from this experience on this track is the fact that when I came back from my break, the little stop I just made, it really focused a little bit more on a prog synth fusion composition, just slightly, just by the rhythmical values and the melodies he was playing, but it was all very synthy. But then that gave away to a more, circling back to that bolder orchestral sound. So during gameplay, was this a theme or like a menu in a waiting period, or was this actually part of gameplay, what we just heard? Yes. Somebody said something that I wanted to kind of answer. Yes, this name is lame. When you said it's far from the first game to have voice acting of that nature. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I'm definitely not one with knowledge on what's first. Just in my journey, it's just, and especially since we're listening to 8-bit through the next iteration, which I guess would be 16, to what we just heard. Now there's, I'm sure, many other games and composers that introduced voice choral sounds in the background to give you that kind of spooky, secret kind of, heavy, dark, mystic kind of vibe in the journey, So this is the intro. This is the title screen track. See, that's great. Before I move on, that's something I just want to let you guys know that's very unique. And this was part of my career. What I did for a living, this is why I loved and how lucky I was to fall in this itty-bitty little slot as a professional composer, is that I was a production library composer. I've written over 4,000 tracks that are on all the continents of this planet. And these are library pieces where, let's say you're watching TV and it's like, tonight on CNN, and you hear all that music in those 30-second promos. That's what I specialized in. But another thing that I specialized in that a lot of people don't know about is production library trailer music. So not in the days, the world of video channels changed everything because that was more mass-produced content. So back in the movies, you actually had to cut trailer work. But as the years moved forward through the 90s and stuff, music libraries would hire composers to write these bombastic, big, huge, gigantic pieces. That would be the theme or the exit of productions that maybe didn't have money to hire a composer. And music like this was right up my alley. Not that I could or did compose anything of that nature, but it was right up my alley. This powerful theme setting track that really is more of the pull in of the person who's watching the trailer, or the pull in who's the person who's going to watch the very first video game trailer. Of course, today's day and age, the composers, I'm pretty sure, would be asked to write the custom trailer. But actually, when I did that podcast with Marty O'Donnell, Marty had said when they did the major presentation of Halo, I think to the investors, like, here it is, guys, here's Halo. This is what you guys have paid for. We're about to release it. Marty said they actually pulled from a feature film trailer music library for that presentation. So, sorry, guys. I went long-winded, but I figure I'd give you a little background. You guys, I say I'm a composer. Yeah, who's this old guy? He says he's a composer. Every now and then I feel like I just want to let you in a little bit of what I've done so it makes sense of what I'm saying. Okay. In a world. Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. In a world. Okay. Metal Gear. Okay, what's my next journey, guys? Metal Gear. ArgTG, how are you, buddy? Metal Gear Solid 2 theme. Okay. Okay, now, this is giving me some options here, and I think this is where I start to wade into the quicksand of remakes versus originals. But let me click on this and tell me. Well, it almost sounds obvious that should be this one right here, guys. Is this the one here? Is the top one right there? Yes. Okay. All right, cool. Let's get ready to do that. Well, I ran out of my drink, but I doubled up, guys. Stand by. It's just Fresca. Don't worry. I'm not drinking alcohol. But in order to make up for it, with my Death Wish coffee, I already have coffee rigged up for me to keep me zooming. So hang on. No, I can't do vodka anymore. Guys, I swear. I'm like everybody else. I drank. I got allergic to alcohol about 6 years ago. My body just decided to say, you're not putting any more in. And I'd end up looking like Mr. Hand from South Park, Drugs are bad. If I got alcohol, I'd break. So I can't. Yes, I try to be prepped. Okay. Okay, I'm good to go. Sorry about that, guys. Coughing into the mic. Let's continue on, my friends. This is Metal Gear Solid 2 soundtrack, the main theme. All right. Hey, what the hell? Why did it start over there? Oh, I know why, because I was going to start it for you guys. Here we go. Thank you, Tynan Son SDT. I didn't know that SDTM. I'll do that. Okay. Ooh, I like this. Very melodic. Okay, perfect place for me to stop. Now, I've never heard that, but what I just did was something as a composer, you kind of can sense a little predictability. It doesn't mean that you always get it right, for sure. So when I went, I just felt like the modulation wasn't done. And just for you folks that are just lucky enough to be the pure listeners, I always call people who like music, love music, and don't know anything about it the pure listeners, because you guys get to get just such the most perfect end game of composers, because we're afflicted. We listen to things in a different way. But a modulation is when they actually change the key. So how that lifted up, dun 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 dun. Those are modulations and stuff. Of course, you use them in different ways. You can actually go downwards depending on what's going on in the scene. Here's what I love about what I'm hearing with this is now we're definitely getting into more an expansive kind of composition. But once again, I really lean into the hybrid use of digital composition in with the orchestral composition. Even on the last track that we heard, something I didn't mention was the fact that even though there was some orchestral stuff happening, if you notice, there were tom-toms that composer kept on going back into, because you'd hear the tom-tom sweeps. One of the reasons why they were using tom-toms in those days, as far as I'm concerned, is because they hadn't quite perfected what is now we now call, in the world of composing, at least in the last 15 years, what we call storm drums. And so it's a series of percussive sounds that we're all very used to now, you and I and all that, from big theater, you know, and all that, which is part of the percussive. It's an additional part of the percussive nature of an orchestral composition that can be added later, you know, but they're boom, 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 and they have a whole different sound and dynamic to it because of technology and where it's brought it. But I love the hybrid mix of this, and the fact that melodically it's very mellow but very memorable. It's taking you through a nice little weave on that. See where we're at here. We're all untainted listeners, Ace of Spades. I envy you guys. Ooh, this is dark. Oh, this is good. Ah, I wish you would have hung on to that for a second. Guys, I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to go back about 20 seconds. I want you to listen to those drums again and listen to that, how they're not perfectly, as we call in the industry, quantized, which means they can be locked to a grid digitally, and how there's a little bit of a natural human element of playing that. So it's almost as if they went back into the studio and the composer says, man, I need some banging toms in there. Quick, get me some drums or something. And somebody actually live played, those tom-toms. Listen to the timing of them are what I would call very humanized. Yeah? Waiting for James Bond to pop out somewhere. Right, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Glorious End. That was great. Now, once again, was this a theme, a standalone theme to titles or something like that? Because the reason why, well, I'm asking because I need to know primarily, but because there was such a couple of little change-ups in there that looked like those change-ups felt like it happened to something that was happening in the scene. Like that really super cool little section was like not a dark hip-hoppy vibe, but that's when I was going, oh yeah, that. And I was like, oh, I hope he rinses on this for a while, but he jumped right back in the orchestration. Stand by. So it is an opening. Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah. All right. Well, now we're getting into a place now we're sounding a hell of a lot more modern with the composition and the sounds and stuff like that. And, so this is like what Professor Vidya is saying. It's kind of a teaser, the trailer. But I'm assuming, since for those of you who played this game, that there were repetitive elements of what we heard in this theme throughout the game. Most of the time that would be called motifs, or conductors, musicians, and all that sort of stuff. A motif, it's like a theme or something that repeats itself. It's very well known in movies. Like I've had to do motifs when I've done, film and stuff, where da 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 da. Let's just say that's the melody, and it's this big, trailer, orchestral giant piece. But then that same da 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 might be used in different little pieces throughout the movie, or maybe in the video game. Yeah. Is it kind of like an? Yeah, the motifs are used throughout. Okay, cool. The darker synth is a motif. Oh, so it'll keep coming back and whenever some heavier things happen. Okay, very cool. Sorry, I don't know why I'm coughing so much. All right. Let me see. Somebody just said I should take a listen to Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. What do you say about that? Snake Eater, yes. Dual Lance, how's it? Thanks for dropping by and saying how's it? After Snake Eater, jump into Rising. Okay, that's where I'm getting at too. Because I know I can get long on these streams and I don't want to be here till the next, supper. I can see it now. I'll be turning around going, oh, Apostles, Party of 12, right this way? Okay. Hey, I got jokes. They suck, but I got jokes. Okay. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater theme. Is that what I'm looking for? Okay. Okay, this theme is now different from the previous two. They did a version of that theme again, but they gave this game its own distinct theme song for the opening. Alien Lord 32, thank you very much for that. This is what I love about this, guys. I'm learning. And even here's what I love about you guys here, just hanging out, is you guys are pretty kind to each other. If somebody does make a mistake or says something wrong or is getting somewhat kind of readjusted in a comment, so I just consider myself so lucky and so grateful that there's such a super cool crew here. Okay, so my last question before this is that we're beyond that gentleman, the Williams composer now. Is this a different group of musicians or composers at this point, or at least for this one? Guys, let me know on that. Because I learned that when I did the podcast with Marty O'Donnell from Halo, how there was a transition of composers for whatever reasons. Yeah, I guess there were some challenges there. But how composers transition. But what I did realize is that even though new composers took over Halo, past Marty O'Donnell, they still kept a lot of the themes that were, you know, from the very beginning, you know, and transitioned it through. Yes, you must suffer. All right. So then that's it. You guys says it's still him. Let's do this. This is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater soundtrack. Oh, should I do the theme? Guys, which one should I do here? Do the first one? With the most views. Okay. Okay. Here we go.
What a thrill.
Whoa. Okay.
With darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill.
I love that bass. Listen to it creep on you.
I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart. But you're so supreme. I give my life not for honor, but for you. In my time, there'll be no one else. Crime, it's the way I fly to.
I love that.
I'm still in a dream.
Waka, 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 waka.
Snake eater. Some
This is great. I love this, not only because of the fact now I'm taken off guard a little bit by the fact that now we have vocals in it, which I knew to expect that sooner or later because of what's coming up. But what I love about this is that at the very beginning when the vocals came in, it was a very subtle bottom end to the orchestration. Like it opened up with a little bit of an orchestra, and I was going, okay, we're going to continue on this kind of journey. And then all of a sudden it pulls in tight, and then you get into the melody of what she's singing. But what's really super cool are these little sporadic things, like these bass lines, these like not quite sub-pleb bass lines, like the super subwoofer style things, but this little poppy, what I call snippety bass, down, bouncing around behind her as she's singing and getting us into this kind of mood of like a spy thing. Then when it kicked in, it was like if I felt like James Bond just did a movie with Shaft. If you know, Shaft was a very famous like Motown style detective show and stuff like that. And so it just really seemed like there was a merge between the two styles, and the sound got very 70s, but progressive in a Motown kind of vibe with the kind of chords and the kind of laid back and super spooky spy chill kind of vibe going on.
you go through the rain.
Shut your mouth. Yeah, that's right. You guys know.
You'll feed on a tree frog. It's ordeal, the trial to survive for the day we see new light. I give my life not for honor, but for you.
Shaft.
In my time, there'll be no one else. Cry.
Snake Eater. What I love about that really brought it home for me was this really dynamic use of two different powers of an orchestra that usually has an onset when used in a particular way to create different emotions out of us. So at the bottom, we had those big horn sections, that were kind of pulsing, boom, boom, bum, bum, and then they would do these big rips. And the rips are those, when you hear the brass section go, wow, emphasizing those rips. Yet on the other hand, you had the string section doing these really nice half note and whole note. They're just kind of swimming with the melody, up there. And because by virtue of the dynamics of how strings get recorded, usually if you're looking at an orchestra, you're going to have, so let's say you're sitting in a chair and you're at a stage, you're looking at an orchestra in front of you. The violins are always to the left, and then you've got the violas, and then you have the cellos, and then you have the double bass or the upright bass and stuff like that. So by virtue of that, when recorded that way, when you have these really long, beautiful lines that are being played, it gives you that richness of ambience and ethereal kind of laid back thing. But another super match to that was how the drums that were in there were more jazz light-handed. It wasn't giant kind of stuff. It was almost as if he was using a brush, or she, whoever played the drums, was using a brush. He wasn't. It was a lighter stick. So I just really dug into that. I thought that was really, really super cool.